Hi guys. Today we're going to talk about altitudinal zonation. This is a key vocabulary word for the unit, and it deals with a unique uh, effect that occurs along the Andes Mountains in South America. The Andes are pretty cool. They run along the entire western coast of the South American continent, and they're right along the coastline. So what you have is a very steep shift in elevation from sea level all the way up to 15,000 plus feet. What this does, it creates unique zones or altitude zones. Okay, and those altitude zones are named ideally in Spanish. We have Tierra Caliente, Tierra Templada, Tierra Fria, Tierra Helada, and Tierra Nevada. We're only going to talk about mainly four of them, but each zone is unique because of its altitude. I'm sure you guys know, but with altitude, the farther you go up, the less air there is, less oxygen is available, and also the temperature decreases. So the combination of those two things is going to impact climate. It's also going to impact vegetation type. So for the people that live in these zones, it's really going to impact them, and they have to adapt depending on what zone they find themselves in. We're going to also call this vertical zonation. So it'd be key to know what both of them mean. This is just an example of an altitudinal map of the Andes, and it's on the left. On the right is a comparison to the Alps. The Alps aren't as, you can say, steep or have as an abrupt shift as the Andes do from sea level all the way up to 6,000 meters. So as you can see, this map's going to show you not only the zone, but the zone in Spanish is named after the temperature level. Okay, within each zone, you're going to see the vegetation type that occurs there. It's also going to show you the types of crops that can be planted there. So it's a pretty cool, neat map that you can see different aspects of the ecosystem as it changes the further you go up in elevation. Starting here at the bottom of the altitudinal zones in the Andes, we have Tierra Caliente. Caliente means hot, so it's basically called hot land. This is between 0 and 3,000 feet in elevation. Not many people live here. The people that do typically tend to be indigenous. Tierra Caliente features tropical rainforest, so we know why people don't live there. It's because it's incredibly dense, it's very hot, wet, and humid all year round. The people that do live there, though, they're mainly subsistence farmers. They live off the land, and the crops that thrive in this type of environment typically tend to be bananas, sugarcane, and rice. Moving on, we have Tierra Templada, which translates to cool land. Its nickname is Land of Eternal Spring because the climate is relatively warm to hot year round, so it stays steady. Most people that live in and around the Andes live in this zone, which is between 3,000 and 6,000 feet. It's characterized by not only having a lot of people, but having very large haciendas. And hacienda would be a farm. And the main cash crops here are coffee, fruits, and flowers. If you ever buy a significant other flowers on Valentine's Day, there's a pretty good chance, depending on the type of flower you get, that it might come from South America. Also, as we've known from our research, most of the world's coffee comes from South America. Next one, we have Tierra Fria, which translates into cold land. This is between 6,000 and 12,000 feet, so we're getting up there in altitude. So there's less oxygen available, and the temperature is definitely going to change, so it's much colder. Most of the Andes will be in this zone, so very, very high altitude. It's characterized by a very rugged, steep landscape with hills, valleys, canyons, plateaus, and large, tall mountains. You'll see a few unique things here. One is the tree line. So as the amount of oxygen decreases, trees cannot grow above a certain point. So you have this unique feature, if you look in the picture there in the top left, where literally trees will not grow above a certain altitude. And it depends on where you are in the world. The people that live here, they practice terraced farming. which you see a picture of in the bottom right with the picture of Machu Picchu. They literally dig steps into the mountainside to create flat areas where they can farm. We'll also talk about vertical trade here in a second. The last zone we're going to talk about is Tierra Helada, which translates into frost land. This is at high altitude, so above 12,000 feet. It's extremely cold, it's windy, temperature fluctuates a lot, but it stays cold. Up above the snow line, which is another vocabulary word, you'll find permanent snow year-round and glaciers. Not many people live up here. The people that do have indigenous roots. They've adapted to that type of climate over a very long time period, and they're used to it. They raise animals, alpacas and llamas, which they use to transport most of their materials and gear in the high altitudes. They also plant a grain called quinoa. Okay, those are the 4 zones as part of altitudinal zonation. There's Tierra Nevada, but that's well above 15,000 feet, and only a few spots in the Andes have that type of elevation. Last vocabulary word, we have vertical trade. Vertical trade is when people that live in a zone specialize in what that zone is best at producing. So we talk about in Tierra Templada, they specialize in coffee. Okay, so if they have that as a cash crop, they might not have a whole lot of meat. So they might trade with an indigenous, let's say, herder from Tierra Helada that has llamas. So they'll exchange coffee for meat. So the trade is occurring vertically from zone to zone. Okay, and it's a unique type of trade that only occurs in very mountainous areas where you have a vertical zonation. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any further questions about it, feel free to watch it again or use the materials I uploaded on Schoology. And you also have a thing called Google. So check it out, guys.